Well, hello YouTube, back in the shop again. It never ends. It never ends. And stuff. What do they say? Death, taxes, and building an RV10 and everything. So we're back in the shop again. I appreciate you guys clicking on the video, and that reminds me, make sure that you hit that like, that subscribe button, and notifications. I try to put out 4 to 5 videos a week if we can, and everything. So we're back in the shop, and it cut right to the chase. So today we're going to be doing something completely new. It's called fluting, and it's not the musical fluting. As I walk over here and I see the poor lighting in here, and I do apologize. Let me use my big head for something useful here and everything. So fluting is the process of putting like a crimp or fluting pieces of metal, and I'll show you a little bit better here in a few minutes and everything. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to be fluting the ribs, or the ribs, and then we might have enough time left over to get some things painted. So we have the nose spar, or the nose ribs, and then we have the other ribs that we have to do. These guys that we cut yesterday, if you guys remember in the video, this is what we're going to be fluting. And so without further ado, let me just say, this plane's not going to build itself, so we got to kick the camera around, and I'll show you exactly what we're going to do today. All right, so we got the camera. So what we're going to do today is, if you look at the part, so fluting is if you take this part, see how it's curled up? So that's actually kind of the issue, but more so is if this part was laying flat, these edges, see how those edges have spring in them? This edge has a spring in it. So what fluting does is fluting will take this edge and it makes it flat. Now that's kind of like the byproduct, but what you're actually more interested in is making sure that all of your holes align. And see how that's kind of, I mean, just by looking at it here, you can see how that hole, if you imagine a hole here and then a toothpick or another one there, see how it's off. So fluting will get the holes. That's the goal of fluting. You're not, by getting it flat, you're in essence lining up the holes. See how the holes line up now? How this one's higher. So that's what fluting is about, is to get the piece so when it lays flat and the holes are aligned. That is the goal. You do that with these pliers, and what you do is when you flute, you're crimping. It's kind of anti-intuitive, but you crimp the piece, and then that causes it to lay flat or to lay there. So that's what that in essence, because by crimping it, you're pushing metal out and you're constricting it, and by the constriction of the metal, you're pulling it flat. So that is what fluting is. And like I said, the goal is to get all of your holes, all of these flanges in alignment with each other. And as you can see, that sucker's way out. Now, the process of fluting should be this. The first thing you have to do is you have to make sure your flanges here are 90 degrees. And I can tell you that this is not 90 degrees just by the way it is laying on the surface here. And the way that you measure that is you get something, a lot of guys will make, will do something like a small block. You want a big long piece or something long, so you get the whole radius, and you just match it up and you make sure that it is 90. So that's your very first thing, is you want to make sure that all your flanges are 90 degrees. So get those done first, or you're always going to be chasing. Once you get it 90, you're gonna flute, then you're gonna not 90, then you get it 90, and then you're gonna, back and forth and back and forth. So first order of operation, get all of your flanges 90 degrees to the part. And as you can see, just by looking at that, you can tell that those aren't 90 degrees. So the first thing is we gotta bend these in. You do it one or two ways. Tool Vans says get a block, or I've seen guys get a block and put a slit in the block of wood and then use this to manipulate it. To be honest with you, I'm too poor. I just kind of use the bench, right? I mean, that kind of works. Just take the bench and bend it over. That's all you got to do. And there you go. See, that's the poor man's way. All right, so that's the first thing to do. And then, so get these all at 90 degrees. See how that one is? Get them all at 90. Once they're at 90, then you start putting your flutes in to get the piece to lay down flush. So I've got 8 of these I got to do. So this is a very tedious operation, but it's very necessary. And the reason why it's necessary is it keeps the especially when you're going over long distances. We weren't really concerned about it when we were doing the tail or the rudder, because we're going over smaller surfaces. Well, this is going over a long surface. That back horizontal stabilizer is almost I would say 10 feet long, 11 feet long. And you know how if you ever done it, if you ever like 1/8 of an inch off by the time you're at one spot to the time you get to the other, how far you are, over a period. So that will, that's the same thing. So the reason why we flute, we try to make sure these are straight, is because when we put them over long distances, if you don't, you're going to get waves in your wings or in your thing. There's also a really good video. Vans has put out a video on how to build and I'll put a link maybe. I'll put a card on how to build a gas tank. And inside there, he explains, the gentleman that does that video explains why fluting is important. So I'll put a link to that video on there as well for those that just are too lazy to go type in Vans fuel tank installation or what, I don't know, in Google. But I'll put that link for you. I'll do that for you. So, all right, so enough of that. I've got a lot of fluting. I got a couple hours worth of just metal manipulation I got to do. So enough of that, and I will talk to you later. All right, so I want to show you how we can do how we know fluting. See how when I push to get this center, see how this is curved up? See how far that is? See how far that goes? All right, so hold on. So now I'm gonna come back and it doesn't move at all. It is flat. It could go a little bit further, but that's good. I mean, I don't want to say good enough, but actually that is good enough. I mean, when I go here and I hit it, it doesn't move. It's here. See how that piece, I'm gonna kind of show you on this side. I fluted this one, and this is solid, and then see the spring? See the spring in that? See that? See how it springs? I'll flute this side now. Okay, so now we're back, and see, no spring. A little bit, it can use a little bit more, but it's not as drastic. See that? What that is doing is that if you go here now and you look down those holes are lining up with each other. That's the byproduct, or that's what you're going for. But the way that you do it now, I could probably flute these just a little bit more. See, there's a little bit more spring, so let me put a little bit more on that. Voila, she is solid. She's not. See how that's laying flat. So that is why we flute, and that is that's how you test. But there's, as you can see, I'll bring in another one that I haven't fluted, and so we bring it up. See all the spring. See all that spring. And now look, no spring. A little bit, so I can probably put another flute here or there, but as you can see, it's nowhere near what it was, just by putting that little crease, that little crease into the piece. Takes that out. So that's fluting, and moving right along with this, I'm actually surprised how quick this is going. But it is what it is. So we've got 4 more to do after this piece here, and then we'll pull the nose ribs out. Hey YouTube, I wanted to share one more thing with you that I noticed, and this is not only a sight thing, but a feel and also a sound. If you push on this, and then let's see if I can do this and hold it down. See how it's moving, but hear that sound. You can hear it hitting your bench. Now obviously your bench is going to be different. Let me show you what it sounds like after you flute. Now here we go. Watch this. It's not, because it's not hitting. So use your ears as well. Your ears. Your ears will be a good indication. Hear it? Now let me flute. Now watch, listen. Nothing. Plus it's not moving. See how it's not moving? So that is what fluting, so it's a combination of feel. You know, I thought this was going to be difficult by watching the videos, but I'll tell you, it's actually pretty easy. And don't get in the trap to think that every one of these things has to be fluted. I have some that didn't need it. Like this one here, I only had to do this first piece and it worked out great. You know, so don't get in the trap that you have to dimple each one. As far as pressure, I mean, I think consistently I'm putting about the same fluting in each side. So I just kind of grab at the end of the tool and just kind of compress. I don't, you know, it's not going to let you go too far because like on this tool here, these fluting pliers, you know, they actually have a hard stop. So I don't think you over flute. If you do over flute, I was told what you do is you just bend this back at a 90, bring these back at a 90. And that will do it. But remember, order of operations. Get these flanges set to 90 degrees first, and then table, and then you know, flute and stuff, or you'll be chasing it. So, and I also noticed too, the more you flute, the more this thing it puckers up in the center, because what you're doing is that you're curving this down and down. And like I said, fluting is a byproduct of trying, if this part, let me see if I can get it to get level. You're trying to get all the holes to line up. And that's a camera angle, more of the 90 there, but all the holes should line up now when you put them down. That's the whole idea, is it gets rid of that wave in your rivet lines. So there you go, fluting, done. So now what we're gonna do is pull out the spars. I do have two pieces here. I got to pull out the plans. There are two of these flanges. When they go in, they actually, you know how before we were putting our flanges perpendicular like this? Well, these two actually go out at an angle, at a V, by 9 degrees. So I have to put a 9-degree bend here, and then I have to put a 9-degree bend here in the opposite direction. The way I'm going to do it is I have my little my little clamps. You get these at Harbor Freight. I broke mine yesterday. I'll just show you that. See where the crack? But they'll still work. So you just put that in there and then just bend these out 9 degrees, and that's it. So that's the next order of operation. And after that, we'll pull the nose ribs out, and then we'll be setting up the paint. So I wanted to share with you guys something. Part of building an airplane is figuring out how to do things with direction, of course. So with direction, I'm gonna put the directions right here. So these two, I wanted to share these with you. So these two ribs have to be bent at 9 degrees this way. So if you look at how this matches up now, see how that's perfectly kind of in line? Well, on this one, you have to, because these kind of curve out, have to be bent in 9 degrees. See so how that is. So 9 degrees, I mean, if you can do it with a compass or draw it out on a piece of paper, you'll get the idea. It's ever so slight. But if you look at the drawing, and I'll put it in there, it should be where this piece here is barely not touching, but close to that piece in reference of the drawing. Now, granted, when you get this mocked up and get the parts in there and stuff, you can move it around. This is thin metal, and you can move it and everything. But the question is, how do you bend that piece? Well, guys, it's simple. You take the piece, put it on an edge. What I did is I put it on the edge, held it down, and just bent it this way. Use you don't need to have special crimpers and benders and all of that stuff. You can literally just take the piece, put it on the edge, line it up with the edge. And what I did is I lined up the relief holes to the edge, and I just basically with two hands bent it up. Basically made a press break. That's how you do it. Same thing here. Block of wood, keep it simple. Block of wood, hold it down, put it down, and then bend it out. I mean, it's not, yeah, you know, obviously you're building an airplane, so you want to be precise, but there's some things you just don't have to overthink. You know, don't go out and buy special tools and everything. But that is, if you look at that versus the picture, which I'll put there, you'll see that, hey, it's good enough for government work. Well, I don't know if I want to put my name in that hat, but so that's it. No need in marking these. I know that these are the 90s because it's missing the both flanges here. So I know that and everything. So now I've got to deburr, and I got to do some, I do have to do some cleaning up here where these curled up and stuff, but I'll take care of that here in a minute, just to get them cleaned up and get those edges knocked back down. You can see it right there. So, all right, enough of that. I just wanted to share that with you and hope it helps you. YouTube, so I want to share this with you. So we are to take this nose rib, and we are to cut this hole and you know, measure and cut and everything. And so I decided to go beyond and did this instead. No, just joking. A little levity. This is one case where the plans don't reflect the part anymore. Vans went ahead and cut this and added the lightning hole into the piece. So I just wanted to share that with you. So don't freak out that when you read the plans like I did last night. I was like, oh crap, how do I got to buy a tool to punch that out. I was looking at all my die sets, you know, that I punch out aluminum sub panels with, and blah, 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 blah. And then I came in and I had it all worked out in my mind how I was going to get these nippers, these air nippers, and I was going to make this hole real nice and neat and beautiful and perfect. And lo and behold, I went to the sub kit 4 and they already did it for me. So, but they did a good job. Just wanted to share that with you. All right, YouTube. So I got everything deburred, and I actually used my die grinder to scuff up the outer edges to get these things ready for paint. However, at this point, we don't paint these, or because I can't. I need to countersink or dimple these holes here, and they don't have me dimpling these holes until 3 or 4 sections down the road. So we have to assemble the spars, the front and rear spar, with the ribs and everything, but they don't have us, the instructions do not have us taking these apart and dimpling these just yet. So I am not going to do that. I think it's probably to get things fitted or to get them aligned and fit correctly. So those are the instructions. So I'm not going to do it, even though I was thinking about doing it, because I know it has to be done and I can paint them, but the instructions don't say that. That's actually in section, we're on 8.6, and we actually don't take them apart until 8.9. 8.9 is when we take it apart. So this is a good stopping point. So yeah, we got everything that we wanted to get accomplished done today, except for paint, but that's okay. We got the parts cut, got everything, got our pieces flared, did all that. That's great. And so that's about it for tonight. So there you go, YouTube. Another, we got our 2 hours in. You know, so tomorrow what we'll do is we'll come in. I got to clean up and get everything laid out, ready to go. But then tomorrow we'll come in and we are going to sub-assemble or mock assemble the front and rear spar. The other thing is I got something that has something to do with this. I got my parts here. Don't get me wrong, they're around here somewhere. Oh, they're on the painting table. So they are done, but I'm gonna do something else. You know, this is done, but I got an idea. I got an idea, and it's all about trying to come up with a way to do this so you're not hand cutting. I know it's experimental, a lot of people do that and stuff, so I want this plane to be as spec can be. So I got some ideas, and you'll have to stay tuned tomorrow. So we'll do that tomorrow. I think the parts should be here to do that, and so we'll knock that out tomorrow, and then we're gonna assemble the front and rear spar with the nose ribs, and then we're gonna get our cradles because we'll be ready for those. But yeah, so the instructions, I thought we would be dimpling these parts, but no, we're on page 8.686 of the plans, and we don't actually dimple or anything until 8.10, 8.9, page 8.9. So we got some more steps to do. I think because of the nature of the horizontal stabilizer and everything, that they want us to do some mock-up and see what edges are going to roll and things of that nature. So it's a little bit different, a lot more detail than the vertical stabilizer and the rudder. A lot more here. So yeah, we're going to follow instructions and everything. It's not rocket science, but you got to be able to follow instructions, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So with that, I just want to say, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I hope you learned something about fluting, not flaring, fluting. I said flaring earlier. Fluting the parts. I was a little intimidated. Don't let it intimidate you. It's pretty simple to do, and and you just got to follow the process and understand what you're trying to accomplish. You're just not trying to put bends in metal. That's not the goal. The goal is to get the parts to line up flat with each other, to get the holes to line up in line with each other, and that is the goal. And the best way of doing that, besides checking each hole with a laser or whatever, the best way of doing that is to get the part to lay flat. If it's laying flat on the bench, when you put pressure, like I said, on the center, you got to put, because it's springy, but when you put pressure on the center and you can get the part to lay flat on the bench, you're there. You're there. And, I divert to those guys that know more than me, and that is how Vans teaches it. Like I said, I've got the link. I'll put it up here to when they're building the gas tank, because he goes extensively into fluting and angles and stuff, and how to measure the 90 degree on your flanges to make sure that these flanges are 90 degrees perpendicular to the part. He explains how to do that. So, but once again, thanks for joining me in the shop tonight, and I appreciate you. And make sure you hit that like, that notification button, tell your friends about us and everything. If there's anything you'd like to see different in the videos, let me know. We'll see if we can accommodate you, if I can, and everything. But like always, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you guys.